Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to our coffee times to talk about horror, and today I come to you with another movie review. We're here to talk today completely spoiler free about The Substance.
It's coffee time!
When I first heard about this movie, I was intrigued immediately because I already knew the director, and I saw the teaser trailer and thought to myself, this is probably gonna be a banger. Like the way that teaser trailer was done, I was like, I smell a banger, I smell a 5-star, I smell success. But you can always be wrong, like you never know. I went to the movie, I took my partner with me, and I told him, do not get food for this movie because I have a feeling the body horror in this movie is going to be intense. So maybe it's best if you don't eat during the movie. I have no problems eating, watching the grossest things ever, but I know my partner is not a person that loves to eat while a lot of, body horror is going on screen. So it was a fair warning, and I think I did the right thing by telling him because the gore was intense. The Substance is a satirical body horror movie, and it is directed by Coralie Fargette, and she previously directed Revenge. Revenge is a movie that I watched and absolutely loved. It is a little bit bonkers. You have to suspend disbelief a little bit, but it was an amazing revenge movie, as the title implies. And I thought this movie had amazing characters. It had a small cast, but I felt like the violence, the gore, everything was on point, and I had so much fun with it. So if you have not seen that one yet, I do recommend it. The Substance stars Margaret Qualley, Demi Moore, and Dennis Quaid. The plot follows Elizabeth Sparkle, a fading celebrity played by Demi Moore, who decides to use a black market drug, a cell-replicating substance that temporarily creates a younger, better version of yourself. However, there are side effects. Similar to Revenge, this movie also focuses in a very small cast of characters, which I think it is smart sometimes depending on the type of story that you want to tell. I think in this particular case, it was very beneficial to have such a reduced amount of main characters because it was really important for the viewer to spend as much time as possible with them. Demi Moore plays Elizabeth Sparkle. She is a middle-aged woman about to turn 50, and she has had a very successful career in Hollywood. She's still very good looking, she's still very fit. In fact, she still has kind of like an aerobics 80s style, Jane Fonda style workout program on television, and she is very happy and content with her life, and of course trying to keep herself as young as possible in this industry. We quickly learn that she is about to be replaced because she is no longer young enough. She's about to hit 50, and that is too old for Hollywood. They want someone younger and fresher for the audience, which is, something that has been done before because this is obviously a commentary on Hollywood and the way that especially women are no longer offered specific roles the older they get, while the men mostly in Hollywood still get a lot of interesting roles. She is heartbroken because she has been basically dumped just because she turned 50. It has nothing to do with her appearance or that she's still fit or that she can still do her program without problems. It's just, oh, you're 50 now, so we don't need you anymore. And that is quite devastating for her because all her life she's used to, the fame, the praise, being on television, and now she has been just discarded for being old or considered old. She learns about a mysterious substance that it's supposed to generate a better, younger version of yourself. And she is very desperate, so she decides to try this drug. And it is a drug that is obviously coming from the black market, so you should probably already suspect that it might not be really kosher. We also have Harvey, who is the television representative that fires Elizabeth Sparkle, and he is supposed to be a very cartoony, over-the-top character, and his character is most of the time filmed with like fisheye lenses or like very extreme close-ups because they want the audience to find him repulsive, and I would say that they succeeded. Now, this character originally was going to be played by another actor, and I heard in an interview with the cast that Dennis Quaid came kind of last minute and joined them, and I cannot see now anybody else in that role because he did it perfectly. And despite all the disturbing scenes and all the horror, body gore that you're gonna see in this movie, his character was, for me, the nastiest thing. There is a scene that you probably have seen before because I think it's on the trailer, that he's just in a restaurant eating a bunch of shrimps, and the way that he's eating them, it's just so disgusting. It's just vile. Absolutely not. That was for me the nastiest thing in the movie. Just saying. Then we have Sue, which is the younger, better version of Demi Moore's character, and she's supposed to be very like charming, very innocent, like everybody likes her, and she's fresh and young, and she is perfect now to take over television. She's basically everything that Elizabeth once had and now still grieves and craves and aspires to get back. When you watch Elizabeth's workout program, the shots are more like wide angle, full body shots, and when Sue is the one that is doing these workout programs on television, the shots are mostly focused on specific body parts and very much close-ups. Because she's young, you can show it, she's in peak perfection, her body looks amazing, and I thought that was a great way of making a distinction on male gaze and how they look at older women versus younger women. The substance, of course, talks about misogyny and body objectification, which is something that I think you can already gather from the trailer, but this movie is so much more. The film has bold and bright colors that are perfect for Beverly Hills. The cinematography was just so beautiful, it's just beautifully shot. The costumes do such a great job to really bring out the characters' personalities, and the sound was such a great choice. Especially there was like this almost like synthetic sound that you already hear in the teaser, that is almost like a distorted alarm, and that sound is used throughout the whole film, and I have the feeling every time I heard that I knew trouble was coming. Like, the soundtrack is just on point. The production design was fantastic. The television studio was great. There is also a really long hallway in the television studio that the colors, it was like orange, and it had a very distinctive patterned carpet, and it kind of even gave you the Shining vibes, and in that hallway a lot of things happened and it was such a great visual. But you also have Elizabeth's apartment and the way that they organize that in different sets, and every part in her house had like a different vibe, which is kind of relevant to the movie, especially the design of the bathroom. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. The pacing was great. You don't even have a moment to be bored because the movie just keeps shifting. The movie just keeps going in different directions, and every time you think that you've reached the maximum point peak of body horror, it just keeps going. More and more things keep happening to our characters, and at some point you feel like you're in a car with your foot pressed on the gas and a wall in front of you, and you can just not stop the car. That's how I felt for the characters. Like, they were on a road of destruction. The tension building was great. I felt like the longer that we were experiencing this with our characters, the more disturbed and the more creepy that we got. This movie might make you feel angry because some of the topics that are being discussed and commented on, but it's also a movie that is going to be sad at times. It's going to disgust you, especially all of the body horror parts, but it's also funny. So there is like such a good mix of different elements that keep this movie upbeat and keep this movie entertaining. Like, I didn't even realize we were getting to the end. I was just in a roller coaster of emotions. In other movies, sometimes I'm thinking, oh, let's get to the end, let's see what happens. In this movie, I was just so invested and that is good storytelling. The story is simple, but the way that they have edited and paced this movie it was just flawless. Feeling crushed by impossible beauty standards and society's hyperfixation on youth is nothing new. We've heard this message before, the absurd standards that female beauty is held to, not only in the superficial entertainment industry, but also we have been trained to think about our own bodies and how that is intrinsically linked to self-worth. But this movie comes at a time where now we live in an era of, I think the drug is called Ozempic, like a lot of Hollywood stars are talking about this drug, and I think it's a drug that it's supposed to treat diabetic people, but a lot of pop stars, actresses are taking it to lose weight. I'm guessing it comes with consequences, because if you are not diabetic, if you don't need this drug, why are you taking it? It's probably not healthy. But of course, it promises us that you're gonna go back to your old self, and that's what a lot of people crave. We have such a panic and such a fear of aging and getting older, which I get it. I mean, I'm not scared of getting older. I want to live as long as possible, and for that I have to trade in my youth. It's just the way it goes. So I much rather get to 100 than not get to 100 because of that fear of not getting old. The substance is a terrifying reminder that actually your worst enemy is yourself, because sometimes you are too harsh when you look at yourself in the mirror, and sometimes we have forgotten on how to love ourselves because we are unable to accept changes that happen just through time. Now, the horror in this movie is obviously not built upon jump scares or creepy, slow build, tense moments. The horror in this movie comes obviously from the disturbing imagery, from the body horror, and let me tell you, the body horror in this movie is intense, and I can see why a lot of people are not going to be able to stomach it very well. There were a couple of scenes where it's the simplest things, but my partner was having trouble keeping his foot down. And that is because there's a lot of stuff also that involves needles, and if you are someone that has a needle phobia, I don't know the name for this, but be aware there's a lot of injections and needles in this film. And that's kind of how the movie starts, with the injections, because Elizabeth wants to try this substance, this new drug that has promised her a better, younger version of herself. So we already start with needles and injecting fluids into the body, and that just keeps escalating. And I was watching the movie and I'm like, oh, this is why people thought this was very disturbing and gross, and it just kept going. It just kept going. And when you get to the ending, and I'm talking like the last 15 to 20 minutes of this film, damn, that was, I did not expect the movie to go that far. I'm gonna be honest, I thought this movie was gonna be body horror, but I didn't expect it to elevate to that level. So just putting it out there, if you guys are squeamish, if you don't like body horror, this might not be for you. I would say it's for people that love Cronenberg kind of level of body horror. The only thing is that the story in this one is a lot more straightforward, and the themes are being portrayed in the movie are much easier to follow and understand. I always feel like when I'm watching a Cronenberg movie, there are so many different ways that you could interpret the film, and they're a lot more weird and bizarre, and a lot more kind of have a more complicated timeline and a more complicated story. And the substance is very simple when it comes to the main story with the plot, but it is done in such a good way, and the body horror is just sublime. When it comes to the gore, the body horror in the movie, you can see that obviously it has influences from other films, but it doesn't copy anything, and it does add something fresh and new to the table, and so only for that I have to praise them. I would say if you enjoyed movies like The Society from 1989, which I absolutely loved, you kind of already know what kind of body horror to expect. The prosthetics, the special effects, they were all practical for the majority of it. I don't know if they did some retouch in post, but for the majority of it, you can tell it's all prosthetics, it's all practical effects. And it's so well done. That's why it gets to people. That's why people get squeamish, because it looks so realistic. it looks so good. I have to give them props for that. They should win an award for this movie because it is so well done, and it's what I love. I hate nothing more than seeing a good movie ruined by really bad CGI when you could have maybe done something simpler using practical effects, because CGI sometimes really ruins movies. Just saying, that's my personal opinion, but I loved all the prosthetics that they used for this film. In the end, I gave this movie a 5 out of 5. I don't think I could have given this movie any other rating, to be honest. This movie is about balancing a lot of things, you know, like beauty and horror, like fun and disturbing. Like, there were so many different elements, and I think the mix worked really well. This is a cautionary tale. It is something that we are aware of, but I think the reminder is very much needed, especially something that has been around for decades, but now with social media I do feel like it's amplified, and now with AI even, that feeling of not being perfect enough, of not being good enough, of looking at yourself in the mirror and being so judgmental of yourself. And you need to love your body the way it is. You only have one body in this life, and you need to learn to love it because that's all you have. Needless to say, I love this movie. It's one of my favorites this year, 100%. It's gonna be obviously on my favorite movies of 2024 list, because I think that even though the movie does have things that we have seen done before, the way that the director did them, shot them, portrayed them was such a fun, modern, interesting, and new take on it that I just absolutely loved it. So obviously I recommend you guys to go and watch it, and I have seen some people saying the movie is a little bit overhyped. No, it is not. It is fantastic. Love it. If you don't like body horror, I can see why this movie might not be for you, and I 100% understand, because that is definitely not for everybody. But if you do enjoy body horror or have no problem watching it, then give it a chance. It's also kind of why I put on my The Thing t-shirt today, in honor of really good practical effects body horror. Alright you guys, I hope that you enjoyed the spoiler-free review of The Substance, now in cinemas, and let me know down below if you have seen it. If you did, what you thought of the movie. If you want to support me in the channel, please consider joining my Patreon. As always, thank you guys so much for all your support, and I hope to see you all in our next coffee time. Bye!